afternoon and welcome to the 6th Annual Digital Printer Awards. There's no doubt that 2012 has been an interesting year. Let's face it, for the most part, it's been tough. Just when it appears we were out of the economic mire, they inform us we might be going into a triple dip recession. But it's so heartening to see you all here, sitting here today. Success stories, the lot of you. I know the judges were very impressed with the entries and had a difficult job in deciding the winners. But decide they did, and I look forward to hearing who has won from my new very best mate, Kevin. I would like to thank those judges who had that tough job. They are Leslie Rushton-Powell, Simon Kelly, and Chairman of Judges, Rob Cannon. Of course, none of this is possible without the sponsors, who are Antalis McNaughton, Bal Reed, Dan Wood, Delphax, Digital Print UK, Mondi, Pitney Bowes, Ricoh, and Zycon. And a special thank you to our Supreme Award sponsor, Premier Digital. But most of all, I would like to thank you, the printer, for joining us today. Good luck to all of you. In September this year, we launched our latest magazine, Cross Media. Although we have been writing about this exciting subject for some time within Digital Printer, we felt it was the right time to launch a publication dedicated to this area. Of course, for some companies, this is not new, and indeed there are a few in this room today. But for the most, it represents opportunities and challenges in equal measures. Personally, I believe the rewards will justify the investment and change that companies will need to make to be able to truly sell cross-media services. There is help out there from a number of sources, including Cross Media Magazine. So it only leaves me to say, I hope you enjoy your lunch, and once again, good luck to the nominees. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for Grace, read by Business Development Director Marie Rushton. Ladies and gentlemen, the Digital Printer Awards 2012. Please welcome to the stage your host, former England footballer and manager Kevin Keegan.
Or is it evening? I don't know if it is yet. One thing I've got to just say, first of all, it's fantastic that you've done this red stage for me, being an ex-Liverpool man. Thank you. Wonderful. And one thing I think I've got to put right, you can see Rob, who's said he was my great friend, and we have become quite close. But Rob, you did miss 4 of our sponsors out. Okay? You've got to forgive him because...
Can you switch this one on, yeah? He's a West Ham fan. And what West Ham fans tend to do is they try and forget the history when they haven't won anything, you know? Which means Rob can't remember anything for the last 30 years, which is a bit worrying. Also, we got this one right, didn't we, Rob? Because at that stage, the dementia hadn't quite kicked in and whatever. But as he went along, and what you've got to remember as well, and as you can see looking at him, he's been pulling his hair out ever since, and he's almost lost all of it. But I think we're coming now to the ones you forgot. You remembered Cross Media, because that's one of your own. That's right, isn't it? But then, you know, look after your own first, typical West Ham fan. You remember Danwood? You quite like them. Okay, they're over there, look. Yeah. You remember Delphax? Well done, terrific. Yes, he should have gone to Specsavers, I think. You remember Digital Print UK, didn't he? I think he did. The ones he missed, you know you are, don't you? The trouble is he doesn't, so I'm trying to remember. You remember Duplo? You forgot Duplo. Where's Duplo? The bastard sat over here, okay? And that means you must have missed EFI or EFI. Where are EFI? He's here if you want to get him afterwards. He's a fellow with absolutely no hair. Intelligence is something that doesn't come to mind very easily. They're right next to you, so they can beat you up before the others get to you. Here's the last one, Konica Minolta, one of your main sponsors. You forgot them as well. Where are they? They're right next to you. Just sort him out afterwards, lads, okay? All right, what I thought I would do is just quickly take you through some of the things you may have forgot about me and football. And I'm just going to now try and get my lads to work this. I started to look at what you do, and it is really interesting. I got on my computer, wonders of the internet, that's what you're about now, and I got on it and I spent nearly an hour trying to work out what a Duplo 745 was, okay? And I think I've got it. I thought it was a car, I've got to be honest. And then, if you go on to the next one, whoops, come back here. There you go, Speedwave GT. Now, if you don't know anything about printing, you would think a GT was a car. I got quite a shock when I saw that. And then a Prosper 5000 XL. Now, I used to have a Datsun 280ZX. But a Prosper 5000 XL, I've never seen one of them on the road. And then DSF 22. Now, this thing can move. This thing's got the tyres and everything to move on. So, yeah, you've got to forgive me. I felt pretty much the same as you. That is my first... Pegler's Limited is where I worked as a boy. If you ever go through Doncaster on the train, you will pass this chimney. And Pegler's make some fantastic products. And which kid would not be excited? 16 years old, when you're working with products like this, you know, ball-cock valves for toilets. The CC Elbow, we were the only people who did that in the whole world. We had the world rights on that. The round ball float came in handy for playing football. But the other reason I joined this company was their sporting facilities. Yeah, you can laugh, but you know, in these days, facilities like that were hard to find. Of course, that's the away one. The home one's much better. It's got ventilation, you know. And they had an unbelievable pitch. No, this was one of the best. In Doncaster, Hexthorpe, that was one of the best pitches in summer. In winter, we used to get a few problems. But you sort of, the games, you know, people are soft now. We got the games on. We played in anything. And I can assure you, in conditions like that, this game ended up 0-0, and you won't be surprised. But no players done for diving or anything like that, simulation as they call it now. This pitch in Buxton, hard to believe, but in 15 years there was never a game abandoned on this pitch for waterlogged, okay? It was never waterlogged. And this pitch really suited us because we only had 4 good players. So the 6 shite ones we used to put on the left wing that way. And you see the bushes? That was Andy too, because we could sort out their best players in there. We had a guy called Atkins who used to sort them out. And then I went to Scunthorpe. Now, Scunthorpe you might laugh about, but it was a big step up from Pegler's, as you can see. I mean, we had fantastic ground. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. That's the old showground. And that was on a good day. That's a big crowd. We didn't usually get that many. And there's something different about it. You see the people in the houses at the back there. They didn't have to pay any rates. They thought, if you have to watch this shit every week, you should not. And it was very different playing for someone like Scunthorpe, because when you ran out, they used to announce the crowd changes to the team. You used to say, you know, Mrs. Briggs is not here today from seat 36. She's got shingles and she's in Scunthorpe General Hospital. And, you know, oh, by the way, and when I was making my debut, I thought, he's got to announce me. My mum were there, my dad, my sister Mary, and my brother Michael. And he went, hello. He said, oh, by the way, an important announcement. I thought, this is it, because I wasn't in the team sheet to play. A lad got injured. And he said, the pies won't be there till half time. I know it's terrible. But looks at that number 7, Keegan, he could do with some of them pies. And that was my introduction at Scunthorpe United. This is the team, all household names. Hoover, on the front row. The police, everybody wanted to be on the front row of the picture, but they're all dead now on the front row, so I'm glad I was just on that second row. We've lost all them. We had some big fans. And I don't want to offend the ladies, but one of the problems with playing with Scunthorpe, you can't even Google us. You know, but also, they were a happy lot. I mean, they seemed content when we played. You obviously got the youngsters were being brought up right on the football. We got beat 4-0 that day. I remember that game quite well. But for me, then it was on to Liverpool Football Club. And it was a massive move for me. And that's where I met this man, Bill Shankly. And as you can see, I've always been a snazzy dresser. That's a new suit. And that's my old boss, Ron Ashman, seeing me off and glad to get 33 grand for me. Now, this is something I learned when I went to Liverpool. You don't have one of these. Well, if you do, the others get annoyed because they haven't got one. You know, they said straight away, you can get rid of that fucking thing. You know, we don't have them in Liverpool. Tax this. Bill Shankly loved us to go to the schools and sort of interact with the kids and that. Now, we went to this school. I know what you're thinking. It's closed. That's exactly what I said to John Toshak and Emily News, who I was with. And they said, oh, no, we were here last week. And we went in, and the first person we met, headmaster, and then the second was a school coroner. And I thought, fucking hell, that's a bit unusual. And then, it's unbelievable, even though we were a Liverpool Football Club and they should have trusted us, they actually searched us for guns and knives. Of course, we didn't have any, so they gave us some. They thought, you fucking can't go in there without guns and knives. This is where I met the hardest player. I mean, Tommy Smith. Shanks said he had a face a mother couldn't love. But honestly, when I first met him, I thought straight away, was anybody else hurt in the accident? Now, Smithy was very, very different. I mean, we used to sing You'll Never Walk Alone, and he used to sing You'll Never Walk Again to the guy who was marking. And his house was filled, I mean, all the other lads had medals in there, but Smithy had these pictures all round of some of his victims, you know. And, you know, people like Rodney Marsh, I can remember that tackle, and Rodney Marsh said, you know, that was a bit late, Tommy. And he said, well, I got here as quick as I could, to be honest with you. And there was a lad, remember him, a lad called Steve Kinden, who played for Burnley at the time. That's him playing for Wolves, and referee who's just recently died, very sadly, Jack Taylor, was refereeing it. And he was just a young kid. I'd only known Tommy a few weeks, and I knew he was a bit hard, but when he nutmegged Tommy, I thought, fucking hell, you shouldn't have done that, you know. And as Tommy turned round to sort of sort him out, he nutmegged him again. I thought, fuck, you know. So Tommy, and Jack was just there, the referee was just 5 yards away, because he always kept up with play. And Tommy said to Steve Kinden, he said, you do that again, and I'll break both your fucking legs. And Jack, Steve Kinden, who's got a stutter, said, fuck no, Jack, you must have heard that. What are you going to do? He said, I'm not going to do anything. He said, but if I were you, I wouldn't do that again. Dennis Law, when he played against Dennis Law, I saw him handing him a piece of paper. I said to him, what's that? And he said, oh, I always give it to Dennis. It's the menu for the local Fazakerley Hospital. I thought, fucking hell, we're all right here. Now, this is in Singapore. I mean, what I've got to say as a professional is the last thing us lads want to do before we're playing, when we're trying to take the game seriously, is see something like this. But Tommy was different. That's the lucky mascot. This is the mascot who got in Tommy's sight. It's the first time, honestly, I've ever seen a mascot carried off of a football field. But, you know, then it was on to Hamburg for me. We won a few championships, and my last game we won the European Cup at Liverpool, and off we went to Hamburg. And it was quite good in Hamburg because everybody else had a dodgy barnet. I felt really at home. That's Paul Breitner, but there was others. You know, this guy played there for a year on loan from Colombia or somewhere. He outdid us. I mean, there was loads of them. And to be honest, the Scousers, being Scousers, you know, it almost became an epidemic, to be honest with you. And even now, it's being carried on in Liverpool by Fellaini, obviously at Everton, but it got ridiculous in the end, where really, everybody was just getting carried away with it. But time in Germany was great. Won the Schal, which is their league championship, and the European Football of the Year a couple of times. But Ian Rush didn't do quite so well when we went abroad. You know, he went off to play for Juventus, and they asked him after about 3 months, what's it like? And Rushy said, well, it's like living in a foreign country. I think, yeah, yes, Ian, it probably is, you know. And then what happened next? Well, Scotland. Loads of things happened to me. I went stamping that there. But is there any Scots in the room? Good, come on. One. No, put your hands up if you're Scottish. Come on. Where? What? Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, you probably think I don't like the Scots, but actually, nothing could be further from the truth. I love playing against them. That's the goal I scored at Wembley. I admit it was against a Scottish goalkeeper, so you've got to take that into account. But I played a 1-2 with Trevor Brooking, or Sir Trevor Brooking as he now is, and I went and knocked it in, and I ran to the crowd at Wembley and realised we didn't have any. 100,000 Scots. And when I was taking a corner, I've always got on well with them. They've always communicated with me. Because as I was taking a corner, I could hear them say, Keegan, you can't. And I thought, I fucking can, you know. Of course, when you did win that one time, you took our pitch, our goals, and you'd have got the Twin Towers if you could have got them on the tube. But, you know, I quite like, apart from some Scots, now this picture was supposed to be a joke, but actually they did have to pull me off. People think I don't like Sir Alex Ferguson, and they're fucking right, I don't, to be honest with you. There's absolutely nothing he wouldn't do for me, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. We spent our whole lives doing absolutely nothing for each other. Billy, you know, so you could, you know, yes, I did hit him, and I did get sent off, and yes, I did get suspended for 8 weeks. But I quite like Billy Bremner. If I could have got Giles, I'd have killed him, and to be honest with you, Johnny Giles. The other young Scots supporters, this was taken when I was manager. You know, I've always got on well with the younger ones. Talking, before I finish, about maybe players you've managed. I've been very, very unlucky in my life because I have managed Joey Barton twice. When I left Man City, which is a great club and I love managing, and oversaw them move into the new stadium from Main Road, and I left it, Jean says, and my wife said, what? I said, well, the one thing I won't miss is managing Joey Barton, because he's a nightmare. And when I went to Newcastle for that second time, he was there. So the nightmare continued. Who's the best player, pound for pound? Got to be Alan Shearer. When we went to sign him for £15 million, hard to believe, but people said that's ridiculous. No one will pay £15 million for a player ever again. We've now got players going for 50 million who aren't as good as him. But what I liked about Alan is he did what it said on the tin. You knew what you were going to get from him, a real man. Now Tino, Asprilla, he's a bit different. When we signed him from an Italian club, Terry McDermott, my assistant, said, he's really good at shooting, Gaffer. I said, well, he should be. We've paid £8.5 million for him. He said, no, I mean shooting. I said, what do you mean? He says he's on probation. So he can't train on Thursdays. He's got to come to London to the embassy because he shot someone on his farm up the arse with a 12-bore gun. So I got his agent in, and I said to his agent, Antonio, I said, they say he's very volatile. His agent, Marco, said, oh, he's very volatile. He can play on the left side. He can play. He play on the right. He play down the middle. One of the most volatile players in Colombia. But a lot of people blamed him for us losing the championship when we had a 12-point lead. But, you know, I blame the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson is a member of the FA and on all their timekeeping things and that. But one day he did have a really, really lazy game, playing Leeds United on 1-0 down. Just to give you an example before I finish and start the awards of what it's like to be a manager in this day and age. He got a lot of different languages and that. And in this one game, he hardly moved off this area I'm stood on the stage, and he was being lazy, and I got really annoyed. So as we came into the dressing room, I thought, I'm going to have you. You can't do this. I've paid all this money. We're starting to stutter. People are blaming you. It's not your fault, but you can't be lazy. If you run around, fine. So having lived in Marbella for 6 years, I sat all the players down, said, right, sit down, don't go to the toilet, sit down, Sit down, Alan Shearer, Beardsley, Ginola, Philippe Albert, Terry Max, my assistant here. And I started in Spanish with him. I was so annoyed. I don't know where it came from because I don't speak great Spanish, but I spoke enough to say, Tino, you're Tino. You do look a bit like him. You don't mind if I sort of come over to you, do you? Just Tino, hoy nada. Today, nothing. Necesario en el fútbol inglés, mucho más trabajo. It's necessary in English football, a lot of work. Cuando no más trabajo, en el primero 5 minutos, el segundo tiempo, tú fuera. Okay? And he just got up, which is management, and you all have to do it in your jobs. He just got up, took his shorts down. He's quite a big lad, I've got to say, girls. Very big lad. Kicked his boots off and went, no es necesario 5 minutos más, yo fuera ahora. Not necessary 5 minutes more, I'm off now. And he just brushed past me. I was at the door here, and he went to the thing. And Terry Mack, who doesn't speak a word of English, he's a real scouser, went, what the fuck happened there, Gaffer? I said, I'll tell you what, lads. I told him to get his shorts off, get his boots off, go and get a shower. He'll never play for me again until he learns what work rate is. And all the lads went, you're fucking right, Gaffer, lazy bastard, and things like that. So you've got to fly on the seat of your pants a bit when you're a manager. Okay, I think I'm pretty much at the end of that. People mainly, I started off by showing you those machines because I was trying to understand what you do. I've won that twice, which is quite nice. But people tend to remember me for falling off the bike in Superstars, advertising Brute 33, my rant with Fergie. And it happens all the time to me. I'd just like you to remember that I did actually twice win the European Footballer of the Year. Okay.